Hello, sir.
Hi, Shishir.
Hi. So, thank you for joining this call and thank you for taking out some time from your work so that you can start a new
Hmm.
conversation. All the new people who are trying to join this field, who are already in this field, I think they
Hmm.
can benefit from what you have to say. So,
Okay.
I'll just start for anyone who's viewing this. Rahul sir is my first boss. I have worked under him for 1.5 years. I had joined as an intern. I interned for about 6 months. And during the internship, he was just fantastic. He was a fantastic mentor. I usually say that whatever I have learned, a lot of it is because of Rahul sir. So, let's just get started. Why don't you introduce yourself as well?
Okay. Thanks a lot, Shishir. I think you really praised me a lot. So I think it has to be the person who is getting trained. The capabilities are also very important, and how you nurture the new hires is an important thing. So let's start. I think most of the people already know me, right? Who are watching this video, and somebody who is actually seeing this video or this conversation for the first time, then my name is Rahul Sharma. I work at SourceFuse as a senior tech lead DevOps. And I really love to solve complex DevOps challenges. Every organization faces our DevOps challenges. And I really love to talk in public and discuss in public about any emerging technologies. And I'm not limited to the technology like DevOps or something within the IT field. I'm open to discuss anything like world politics or a corona or a nuclear bomb. So I'm sort of a curious person. So I'm open for anything.
So yeah, you were saying that you are not just interested in DevOps side of things, you're interested in other things as well, right? And I
Right.
remember while I was working with you that you used to tell me that you started your career in a very different way. So do you want to, throw some light on that? Like how did you get that first job and what was it like during the early years? Like I think it was about 5, 6 years ago then.
Yes, this is around 2015. This is pretty interesting because back in my college days, I was just like everybody else who has joined the engineering college and really want to do something. The difference was that I'm a bit more curious about the new emerging technologies. So I had a great interest in distributed systems, Linux containers, and I started various technology integration as well. Back in 2016 and 15, things like Docker. It was not that popular, but
Hmm.
I was exploring something like Linux containers. Me and my friends, we were very curious to work on all of these things. So I had a group of friends. So we learned this Hadoop, and then I deployed them on top of Linux containers. At that time, Docker was just a buzzword. It was emerging, though it was invented somewhere in 2009. I may be mistaken with the year. I would say this is something that I felt really cool. And I thought instead of choosing a typical software development job, because I know software development, it's a fantastic thing. They really solves a great challenge. But anyways, I was creating some small tools using either Python or using some .NET frameworks. Uh, that was cool for me, but I still wanted to go for integration side. And I was not really aware that DevOps may be a choice because now this DevOps, now we have a title as a title, but I can frankly say this is something very different. I can discuss one
Right.
whole day over this, and we'll have some different conversation regarding this. But just think that somewhere I got to know there is some automation, some fancy technologies, something very new happening in the world, and it's called DevOps. So I really thought to choose this as a profile. I was doing some sort of research work. I was trying to implement distributed systems at small scale level among the systems and other things. So that
Hmm.
really thought I should go here. But the major challenge was at that time, the title called DevOps. It
Exist.
was only for who has an experience of somewhere around at least 2 years, because at that time people were thinking, okay, somewhere from the Linux admin they are capable of doing something, and now they can learn additional things and they can be called as a
Right.
DevOps. But and I was just a starter college graduate guy, so it was really tough for me to find an organization where I can go and give an interview. In a frustration, I was seeing a 2 year experience, 3 year experience, so I just applied it randomly for an organization where I'm currently working on. And the good thing is they understood my potential and capabilities. And but before that, I had to really prepare well. I built my strong portfolio. They looked the potential that I can do all of these things, all the DevOps stuff. So they gave me a chance. So yeah, this is pretty much how I started, and these were the challenges that I faced in a very early phase of my careers.
Right. So you said that Docker and DevOps was like a buzzword which attracted you to explore this field. I think that's what is going on in the market right now, right? Right now, it's not for DevOps anymore. Of course, DevOps has become like a actual title, and almost all startups at least are having some team, some dedicated team to handle, these responsibilities. But I think right now it's kind of AIML, right? That's the buzzword right now. So people are,
Yes.
trying to get in on this. I know because I have also, done my major project in AIML. So
Uh-huh.
you have started by just exploring and being attracted to this buzzword. And now, you are one of the best DevOps engineers in India. You have been selected as an AWS, APN ambassador. You are one of their community builders as well. This is something which really inspires us a lot. And eventually, we would also like to go into that path after maybe 4 or 5 years of experience. So, what do you think has worked out for you really well in the last 4 to 5 years? What are the things that you feel that, okay, that I did this and this is the result? Now I have this. What is it? Can you throw some light on that?
Okay. So I think what really worked out for me well is I always apply DevOps in my life. It is not just about my job, but it's about what you do in a daily basis life and do you follow that. So why
Hmm.
why did I made that statement? It's important to understand that because IT industry is really a fast moving industry, and especially when you choose a role which is upgrading every day. Every day you hear some new things that are onboarded into the market. What worked for me well is I have made myself agile in terms of the information that I receive. So
Hmm.
on a daily day-to-day basis, you cannot learn everything. What I usually do is I give myself 15 minutes of every day, right? No matter what happens to that day, like how hectic is that day, exceptions are always there. For sure, out of 7 day, it's almost 7 out of 7 that I give 15 minutes for myself and I learn something new because your
Hmm.
brain consider you are a fitness enthusiastic guy
Hmm.
and you have to train your muscles every day so that they can maintain the pump. Similar way I would say right आपके दिमाग को भी इस तरीके से आपको program या rewire करना पड़ता है so that it keeps on receiving the information. I can agree to this point and Shishir you can also comment on this. अगर आज आप कुछ पढ़ रहे हो for sure after 10 days you'll forget it. The information in as is form is not there in your mind because
Hmm.
uh, you are not going to use that particular thing in your job profile every day, right? So this is my technique. I give 15 minutes, I go to Medium or I have my agendas of the day. Okay, at
Hmm.
least one of the Linux command I'm going to learn, or at least
Hmm.
one of the AWS service I'm going to just understand about it. No deep dive. So that really worked for me well, and this helped me a lot.
Quite interesting, sir, because one other thing about this field is that new things are coming up every other day. And if
Correct.
you don't set aside few minutes of your day in just knowing about that, at least you should know that this thing exists, right? And then you will be able to explore and slowly you will be able to intake and retain that information. So that was interesting. That's one tip
Hmm.
for all our viewers. So what's your favorite tech and what are you writing? What are you working on right now?
So see, I'm really passionate about technology. So for
Hmm.
me, there's no favorite tech stack. Reason being, it will be unfair for other tech stack to say, now this is my favorite tech stack.
Yeah.
So I love all the tech stacks, but still, I would say I may be working heavily on something. So
Hmm.
nowadays, I'm focusing on cloud native tech stacks like Kubernetes and then related cloud native ecosystems. You may consider it as a cloud native storage, right? Streaming services like Kafka. So
Okay.
what I'm doing is, since I'm using the word cloud native, I really try to do everything as a cloud native. So I think I got this little pie over as well. So actually, my boss has gifted me. Back in my college days, I used to work on a pie a lot. So my boss gifted me this. So I was really excited
Uh-huh.
about it. I bought couple more pies and I created a cluster of out of it. And now I had deployed Kubernetes on top of these pies, created a complete networking, and
Mhm.
then I have deployed cloud native storage. Uh, so these really give me happiness within my mind ki chalo it's working and it's not on top of cloud, but definitely being cloud native doesn't mean we are not on cloud. It's being I am on one of the cloud, let's say AWS, right? I can
Mhm.
move to some Z cloud or B cloud anytime. So that helps me to avoid any vendor lock-in. So that is what cloud native meant. But I
Right.
just do all of these stuff in a raw form, right? I don't need any networking pre-setup. I need to see those challenges in a real life. I need to actually go into the wires and know how much latencies are there and how these nodes are being communicated to each other. I would say this is what I'm doing. A part of this, एक interesting project और है which I have been working. Uh, so what I did is since I have this Pi cluster, so I keep on experimenting with this cluster. So I had one single Pi, I had a camera module. So
Okay.
I have a dog, so always start biting my sleepers or beanbag, which is lying around my room. So what I did is just create some sort of an object detection and alert mechanism, right? I
Oh,
just
wow.
had a camera module placed in front of my, and this was the fun. I have no hatred towards my dog. He still plays.
Yeah.
So
So
I
I
just
think, you know,
created a
this shows us that this is not just your career, but you're actually, you know, passionate and interested in this field. Like, I don't know anyone else who is doing such things, right? So this shows your passion. I think that's one of the reasons that you have been very good at this. You have been quite successful at it. And one other thing that I learned from your answer is that you don't have a favorite tech stack. And as a person who is just into his career, like I'm having half the experience that you are having, right? And there's a tendency for us, the newcomers, to stick to a particular tech stack. So let's say if I become really good at Kubernetes, then I'll try to dig deeper into it. But more benefit would be if I can keep exploring other avenues as well, right?
yes, this is right.
Okay,
Yeah. So
cool, interesting. Love to have the GitHub page for this project, right?
I usually keeps on sharing my thoughts, my knowledge across the
Hmm.
Medium pages. This is what I really love to. I love to, discuss within the public and a community forum that I'm doing something. What about you? So that keeps
Right.
motivating others as well to do something.
Hmm. I have read several of your posts on Medium, and the one that really got me interested to explore was that articles about chaos engineering. That was really interesting. So do check that out, everyone. That is a really interesting thing that is taking place. Chaos engineering is a very upcoming thing. So speaking of upcoming things, what do you think is going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years in this field?
So the field is going to be more intelligent. This is really important to understand. Whatever you are doing manually, it will be data driven and it will be automated. So, for example, think of AWS auto scaling policies. I'll tell you the enhancement there, right? There is a feature called anomaly detection, right?
Hmm.
Based on that anomaly detection, you can scale your auto scaling. So, for example, somewhere the load is unpredicted. You used to create an alarm of 75 and then it used to scale your instances, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
But abhi kya ho- now you can create your alarms in such a way that it can predict the load that your instances will receive based on the history of the data that you have, right?
Okay.
So if you see, the intelligence is now added here, right?
Hmm.
And I can say this is a bit machine learning. The
Mhm.
machine has started learning your stuff. So
Right.
you should now learn machine stuff now, because if people will not upgrade themselves, right, this is going to be an issue. This is going to be a challenge. Another example is think of a dashboards, right? पहले आप
Hmm.
dashboards बनाते थे, you used to monitor them, okay, I see the spike is every day at this PM and everything, right? But now the dashboards are intelligent based on the data that you receive. They can predict like, okay, we can see that today at 7 p.m. the traffic has made the CPU spike this amount,
Hmm.
right? Like
Hmm.
70%. And now
Okay.
the dashboards are so intelligent, they can tell you that, okay, this is the predicted graph for the next 24 hours or the for next 1 month. So if you see, these intelligence are being added completely to these mechanisms that we have in place, right? So
Hmm.
uh, now I'll give you an interesting thought as well. Let's say you are a Linux admin, okay? And being a Linux admin, you're trying to solve a problem and you're some sort of service is dead in Linux and you're trying to bring it up, right? Or any troubleshooting that you are doing. Now, think of a future where, let's say, somebody who is a new Linux admin who has recently onboarded, he knows nothing about that troubleshooting. He knows something, with the documentation and all. But when you start typing those commands, and all of a sudden you'll see that uh, a suggestion of a command to run will appear in your terminal.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, it does.
because a series of commands that you are trying to run will match with the data that the previous admin might have run. Now think of
Yes.
these kind of scenarios. These are
Hmm.
possibilities. I know I may be a laughing stock right now, nahi hoga,
No, I
but
think these can happen. Yeah. These are very much
so
doable, right?
because this takes nothing. If you go and do a history in your Linux, right, in your Linux terminal, and you'll see the history of commands that you ran. And if I
Hmm.
take this as a data and then I create a learning mechanism around it, and then my machine can tell me how to troubleshoot it, if I execute this in a very proper way. So that's why I made a statement that my field is going to be more intelligent. I'll say that there will be a lot of changes. So consider this something like upgrade yourself. So it is
Yes.
not just
Yes.
a typical DevOps guy job, but this will
Hmm.
be a challenging job in future. Other than this, I think cloud native technologies will be in demand. Organizations are becoming smart. So
Hmm.
now they understand to run any databases. This is what I'm costing, and if I have
Hmm.
moved, I have to move out of some cloud to different cloud, because those services are somewhat lock in for you. So organizations are also trying to avoid any sort of vendor lock-ins. So
Hmm.
this will happen for sure in future as well, but the major change that you will see, and you have started already seeing them now, is the intelligence
Hmm.
feature.
Right. Very, very interesting. The examples that you have taken, the first example of the dashboards, the second example of the commands, you're getting suggestions of the commands. They're quite interesting. And I think we will start to see them. Like there must be some open source project supporting such tools as well. Interesting. Cloud native as well. I have also worked on cloud native. So if you are a beginner who is watching this, exploring cloud native would really help you in understanding how these databases are working, what is the thought behind them, what are the core concepts that you need to be a little bit familiar about. So those are very interesting avenues to explore. In fact, I have written a small article about one of these. Be sure to check them out. I would like to discuss few other topics as well. Since you are a senior tech lead, you must be involved in a lot of hiring activities, right? So do you want to throw some light on how the hiring scenario is right now? What is the quality of the candidates that you are getting? We'd like to hear your opinion on those.
Sure. एक problem हो जाती है, which is demand and supply. The DevOps job is undoubtedly in demand. In 2018, it was the highest. The recruiters were looking for the DevOps like anything. And this is the
Hmm.
LinkedIn data, not the personal research, but LinkedIn shows that. But somewhere this led to other institutions produce more and more DevOps. Like in India, they started producing engineers in so many batches, and then we had so many engineers. But then we have to suffer the quality,
Hmm.
and in this production we actually forgot what exactly this DevOps is. So I would say situation is not really good, because candidates think the profile is all about tools. Okay? Like
Hmm.
Jenkins, creating some bash script and calling it as an automation. This is not actually DevOps. So I think DevOps isn't about tools, but how various teams works together. And technology is definitely involved. I will never deny that. But honestly, tools are less important. Okay?
Hmm.
Because people are more important. You can install the latest version of Jenkins, or you can sign up like Circle CI.
Hmm.
But if you don't have a solid test suite, it's useless. So the tool doesn't provide the value, right? So DevOps is about the people first, then
Hmm.
process, and then tools. So
Right.
definitely tools are part, but you have to prepare your mindset, right? You
Hmm.
need the people onboarded and then ready for a change. And once the people are onboarded, they need to be involved and engaged with these processes. And once process is in place, then you have necessary input, and then you choose a tool. ठीक है.
Right.
The problem with the tools is you always get excited about new tools. So you begin applying to the problem that you never had. जो
Hmm.
प्रॉब्लम नहीं है वो भी सॉल्व करना स्टार्ट कर देते हो उस टूल से. ठीक है. You'll start solving something which is never meant to be solved.
Hmm.
Each tool have its own value, right? But
Yeah.
you'll use them and you really have that problem. So it's my suggestion to all of the candidates that do not run after the tools first. Understand what is this career about. There will be a process, there
Right.
will be a methodology, there will be people who are going to follow certain standards. There will be a versioning management, there will be a Confluence, there will be a Jira, right? There will be SOPs like HLD, and then you choose the right tool, right? Then you choose a right path, and then start learning around. So this is my advice to those candidates who are trying to come into this DevOps field. Okay?
Hmm.
And this is my humble request, because now we are in 2022. We have more DevOps mature models which organizations follow. So this is what I have to say, Shishir.
Got it. The key takeaways are to not just run after those buzzwords and newest tools in the market, the new shiny things. We don't need to run on those. We need to, understand what the role is all about and focus on the basics for a fresher level job.
So you might have an interest where, like I had an interest in distributed systems and Hadoop, and I thought DevOps is a profile. But I would say at that time I was also a beginner,
Hmm.
and that time DevOps was not this mature where we were discussing about processes and policies and everything. At that time it was
Right.
just DevOps. But now also, if we are doing at 2022, if we are doing the
Hmm.
same thing what I was doing in 2016, right, this is, I think, completely wrong. Even I would request for any trainers, any institutions who train these guys, right, they should first
Hmm.
make their mental understanding that, guys, you have to think about this, right? This is how it
Right.
works. Just you have to learn this thing first and then go after the tools. So this is what
Got
I
it.
actually meant for as a summary.
Okay. Got it. So, sir, we're going to take break, right? And then we'll
Okay.
come back.